So welcome back, guys. Chris and Decisive Coaching with the final two, the software, the spiritual needs, the most important really. So the distinction that I want you to make a note of right now before I go ahead is when we look at those first four needs: certainty, uncertainty, significance, love and connection. It can sometimes be quite overwhelming, like when we first start driving a car and we've got the mirrors to focus on and the gear stick, and there's these 3 pedals down on the floor and the mirrors everywhere and lots of stuff's going on, and we feel a little bit overwhelmed of what is it that what I'm supposed to do. I don't really want to forget what it is that it's complete overwhelm, and I don't want you to feel too overwhelmed with all of this, because there's good news. And that is that we don't really have to, acknowledging it, making notes of how you've been meeting your needs for certainty, uncertainty, significance, love and connection. That's all really important part of the deal. But the good news is right now is these next two, if you was to put all of your focus onto satisfying these last two needs using good positive vehicles, in fact it's actually quite difficult to not use good, high level, good quality positive vehicles to meet these last two needs. So that helps to simplify the whole thing. That makes it all a little bit more doable, doesn't it? So just bear that in mind. Write it down on a sheet of paper. Meet these last two needs, growth and contribution, and the problem's resolved. We don't have to continuously keep thinking, oh, am I meeting my needs? Am I meeting other people's needs in a high level way? All the time we're growing and we are contributing back in a positive way, then you've pretty much nailed it. Keeping and developing and growing and learning our understanding around those first four needs can be vital, just to keep us updated, to keep us aware, to keep us on our toes, to keep the understanding of all of these other pesky human beings that we're interacting with on a regular basis. We want to keep up and update our knowledge and understanding and our conscious awareness of everything that's going on. Okay, so growth. So growth really is, I'm going to put these two into one video. So this is going to be growth and contribution, because they're literally like, there isn't a whole lot to them other than that you got a little seed and it's growing. What's the opposite of growing? It's not stagnation, it's dying, as you're going to see right here. Okay, so personal development, that is good for ourselves. So when we're thinking about vehicles and the quality of vehicles that we use, that's where we're building up to now, to help crystallize things, really, to help make things easier, making more sense now. Is a vehicle is good for ourselves, and it's good for others, and it serves the greater good. Reading, learning, exercise, adapting, changing, questioning, understanding something new, not being afraid. So reading all sorts of material, reading both sides of the story can give us such a much more powerful, in control, exciting, unique, connected way of seeing other people's world and the world around us by reading. Reading is not just books. Reading is learning and understanding about other people, for sure. NLP would be probably nearer the top of my list for anyone to learn if you really want to learn and understand communication and how to influence change in other people without being a control freak. How to have really good relationships and communicative relationships with people, to have more loving relationships with people. You can learn to read other people, learn to read the world around us, read the signs and signals that are sent from the universe to us, Learning new stuff. It's always good to learn new stuff. Exercise is all about growing, but quite often, if you think about it, what's the area of life most people where they focus on more than anything, but they still can, quite often they can struggle to still have quite toxic sometimes and dysfunctional relationships, or maybe they still even have health challenges. They may have still perhaps some stuff going on inside with depression and feeling a lack of purpose and whatnot, and that's exercise. Exercise is fantastic, but that's exercising our physical self. We do have the software as well, where most people, they lack with that, and they ignore that, and they don't do any of the work on themselves, and they don't have that self-acknowledgement and the self-awareness and making peace with our shadows inside. It's another video, by the way, at some stage, which is very, very powerful. So can't just focus on the hardware is what I'm saying here, guys. We can't just focus on the hardware, the physical self that we're all in control of. We're all in control of changing the way that we look. But if we're not changing what's going on maybe up here and in here, and this invisible essence that allows us to operate, then we're going to keep coming up against problems, especially with relationships with other human beings. Adapting is growing. If you want to know what growing is, it's adapting. It's changing and not being afraid of change. It's where coaching really comes in handy. If you are thinking of really taking this seriously and you want maybe some streamlining, somebody on your side, in your corner, that's going to be more than helpful, but hold you accountable in the right ways, that's going to help you and understand you, get a coach. More than willing to help if it's something that you want to pursue. Questioning is powerful. Questioning is the most powerful thing that we can do within our own mind, is question everything, and the quality of the questions that we do ask ourselves is ultimately what really creates our physical existence, and everything that we have within it and the people that we have in our life ultimately comes from questions, because we get so used to asking ourselves disempowering questions that our brain keeps going around in this crazy eight. Asking ourselves scary questions, that's what a coach really does. So I could ask you questions that you're not asking yourself, that can lead you to feeling more empowered, more certain, more excited, more unique, and feeling like you have more purpose ahead of you, and certainly more connected with yourself and the world around you. Most certainly can open up your life more than you'll ever know. Understanding something new. So what is not growing? It's automatically dying. Here we go. Contribution. I will just shift my camera over there for a momento. Growth and contribution. Kind of self-explanatory really, isn't it? So growth is all about growing, isn't it? We've just gone through that one. Contribution, let's add some deeper questioning around that one. Contribution. So contribution, if you was to look to nature for these answers of understanding this better, what's growing out there? Sorry, let me get this right. When something is no longer growing out there, it's automatically dying, as we see in that little slide. And if you apply that to nature, can you think of anything that's kind of like that's contrary to that? It's not. There's not anything, is there? There's no examples in nature. It's, you know, if it's not growing, it's dying. We're part of nature, and if the moment that we stop growing, I mean, lots of examples in with people, with the human experience of these people. Maybe they kind of feel like they're growing. They're growing in their business all of their life and they retire and they have no sense of significance, no sense of control anymore. They don't have a sense of love for themselves or feeling loved by others. There's no stimulation anymore, and quite often they'll die for whatever reason, for whatever circumstance. So growth, if you're not growing, you're automatically dying. Now, contribution, how can we apply this to nature? If you think about it, when a species, now I'm talking about other than the ones that human beings are absolutely directly responsible for no longer being here, is when a species is no longer contributing, it's no longer serving any useful purpose in nature, what happens to it? It's eliminated by nature, the universe, whatever you want to call it. It's just kind of like runs its cycle out and it's no longer needed. It's no longer in the cycle for whatever environmental changes maybe, or human intervention has created it or whatever. Anyway, so the same sort of thing happens if we're no longer growing and we're no longer contributing. Then we'll quite often check out. Maybe sometimes people will just decide off their own back, it's going to check out. Don't feel like I'm contributing, I don't feel like I'm growing. Or they will be eliminated if they're no longer contributing one way or another, whether it be by people or whether it be by nature. So that is the 6 human needs. I hope it makes sense to you. Feel free to watch them again if it's something you want to do. But if you apply all of this to your own conscious awareness, your own understanding, first of all, do the homework, write it down, apply it to yourself, write down all of the ways that you do and you have been meeting your needs, whether they be positively or not so positively. Okay, I think we have got possibly another slide. Okay, okay, so the purpose for why we need to meet all other needs. Firstly, we must take good care of ourselves. Why? So that we have more to give. And what's next? The secret to living is giving. So contribution. Right, okay. So here's a really cool part. I'm going to shrink this down, guys, so that you can see all of this. So this is the section where this is how we work out what's a good vehicle to use. Sometimes it's really difficult. We've been doing them so long and it's been kind of tolerated and reasonably acceptable within our life and the circles that we hold and the people around us. We kind of don't really know. We get bogged down in the monotony sometimes of life, and we don't know what we're doing. Is it good? Is it not so good? Quite often we know certain things are not good, but it certainly helps for us to choose wisely and be more decisive around the things, the vehicles that we do, the actions we take around making better decisions. What this is all about, really. So here we go. So there's 4 classes of vehicles. So I'm going to walk you through these. Get your pen handy because you have to write these down so that you remember them. So a class 1 vehicle, it feels good. Okay, it is good for you, it serves others, so in other words the people around you, it's good for them as well. So your behavior, okay, so your behavior, a class 1, it feels good, you like it, you like the way it feels, and it actually is good for you. Okay, so it's healthy and stimulating in all of the positive ways, and it's also good for others. So it's obviously influencing other people somehow as well, and it serves the greater good, so it's sustainable as well. What would something like that be? Something like that would be exercise, isn't it? Being a good positive example for people to follow, maybe a speaker or a leader of some sorts that wants freedom, maybe that wants to see the world as a better, freer place, a healthier place. Could be a good advocate for good, maybe charities. You could have a vehicle that's called raising money for the homeless, or doing good things and positive deeds What else? I'm stuck for examples of class 1 vehicles. I'm surprised. That's probably enough though. You can probably understand what I mean. So it feels good. It actually is good for you. So it's not unhealthy for you. Other people benefit from it, and ultimately it's sustainable. What's the next one? What's a class 2 vehicle? Okay, a class 2 vehicle. Okay, it don't feel good, but it is good for you, and it is good for others, and serves the greater good. So we could say that this is going to the gym, exercise again, because a class 2 vehicle is when quite often sometimes you have just started going to the gym or an exercise or a group or somewhere that's going to challenge you. Okay, somewhere that's going to challenge you for the better. So it could be classes, motivational classes, maybe workshops, maybe groups, that's going to make you feel maybe uncomfortable in the beginning. You might be perhaps a little bit overweight or underweight or somewhere in between, and you don't feel particularly comfortable right now, so it doesn't feel particularly good, but you kind of know in your heart and your gut, you kind of know that it is good for you. And of course you know that it's going to maybe inspire your kids. If you're going to go to the gym and lose weight, others are going to like it because they get to have you for longer, and they get to have you happier and healthier. And of course it serves the greater good because it is something positive that has that ongoing positive knock-on effect, like the energy rolls forwards, doesn't it? Continuously inspires through generations. If you can achieve that, it'd be amazing, wouldn't it? What's a class 3 vehicle? It feels good, but it's not good for you, and it don't serve others, and it doesn't serve the greater good. Think of quite a few of these ones, can't we? Yeah, probably like overindulgence of alcohol, maybe certain drugs. I wouldn't say all drugs are going to be bad for you, because anything in moderation, I believe, is and we're not using it, and we're not needing it, and we're not using it for the wrong reasons, top up something that's empty within us. If we're using it to fill up an empty space inside of us, is what I usually say. That's how we kind of know. So anything in moderation, for sure. So yeah, drug taking, most certainly I can vouch for that one, is that it does feel good at times, but often overindulgence of anything is not good for you, and it doesn't serve others, and it's not good for you, and it's not sustainable going forwards, because you can only do that for so long, and it catches up with you and it eliminates you. So what's this one then? So a class 4 is like, don't even feel good, and it's not good for you, and it don't serve others, and it doesn't serve the greater good. So that's the point that you get to, maybe, where you're like, right, okay, even smoking a cigarette, it don't even feel good anymore, and I know it's not good for me, and I know that it doesn't serve others, and I know that it's not sustainable, and it's not a good impression that I want to have for other people in my life. So that would be like drugs, when you really hit rock bottom. If you're in a job and it don't feel good anymore, and it's no good, it's not enough money, and it's not inspiring, and everything else. So real low level vehicles are class 4 vehicles. So see if you can apply this chart to all of your vehicles that you have been using over the years up until this point right now, because the next part of the exercise is going to be in a completely separate video, and that is how do we really make this work, and how do we choose better vehicles in order for our life to be much more productive going forwards. So I hope you enjoyed that. That is the 6 Human Needs by Anthony Robbins. So I'm not going to take the credit for creating that. I didn't. Anthony Robbins, probably loads and loads of videos of the 6 Human Needs on YouTube. If you haven't already found them, go and check them out. But I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you guys. Bye.